Danny Dumaresque, you're on the air.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm leaving now to go across this beautiful island and meet some great Liberals in the district of St. Barb tomorrow night. Jim Bennett has asked me to come by, say a few words. And then I'm going to be in Bay of Islands on Saturday night with Honourable Eddie Joyce to meet some of the great Liberals in that district of the province.
Okay, you're going to have to clarify something for me. Does this mean that you're supporting Jim Bennett or he's supporting you for leadership? Are you supporting Eddie Joyce or is he supporting you for leadership? Which is it, Danny?
Bill, you would know better than me that we have to keep those things a little tight until we know exactly where we're going.
Okay. Okay, but I think maybe the cat is a bit out, the paw of the cat is out of the bag because you're doing an awful lot of traveling in connection with politics,
yes,
Danny.
well, as I said some time ago, Bill, with the sale of my seafood business, certainly it gives me a chance now to assess whether I can get back to my real passion in life, which is good government and politics. But we'll see where that takes us. But in the meantime...
Well, keep us posted on that, your decision one way or the other as you go down that road. Danny?
Yes, well, we have a deadline there in about 30 days or so we will certainly be letting people know what's happening before that.
Okay, go right ahead.
But I wanted to just touch on something, Bill, that's very important to the province, and that is the Muskrat Falls and also the energy marketing of our recall power. I want to review that with you because...
Okay, now before we start, I don't know if you heard Tom Marshall, Minister, former Minister of Finance, now Natural Resources, accusing you and Jim Morgan of basically misleading the people, knowing the difference because of your intelligence, your experience, your ministerial backgrounds and so on, the people on some aspects of Muskrat Falls, including the financing.
Well, I'm not sure that the people of the province got, and me in particular, Mr. Morgan, got anything to learn from Mr. Marshall. I mean, this is the same minister who said we're going to get $125 per barrel of oil, and this is the same minister who said that this year we would be back in the black, and indeed we're $600 or $700 million in the hole. So, you know, this minister has certainly been well off, and certainly can't say he's deliberately misleading the people, but the evidence is certainly there that he wasn't looking at the numbers very carefully.
If he wasn't just misleading the people, what you're saying is that he didn't know what he was talking about. Am I reading you correctly?
Certainly very close to that, Bill. Okay. And same thing on this financing. I was on the board of directors of Hydro, and we saw some projects come across on hydro development, and the traditional financing for these projects was on a 75-25 debt-to-equity arrangement. And that's the way that these projects were being done. And several months ago, and even a year ago, when I questioned what was happening on the financing, it was because the government did go to the market. They did go and do their market soundings, and the market came back in a resounding no. We will not finance Muskrat Falls on the traditional 75-25 debt-to-equity. And, right now, we don't know what the market is going to do. And yes, Mr. Marshall is probably right that if you have enough of the taxpayers' money gambled on the line and you got everybody in Canada prepared to sign on the dotted line, certainly there's going to be people that will line up to give you some money. But what is it that we are actually going to look for?
Yeah.
I saw this announcement on the website with Mr. Dunderdale put out a couple of days ago. And before I made a public comment on it, I called the Premier's office. I asked for a copy of the document. They said, well, we don't have it, and neither does Natural Resources. Go to Nalcor.
Copy of what document?
The document for the request for financing, the proposal for financing Muskrat Falls.
Okay.
Right? Because the Premier...
And they said they don't have a copy, or you couldn't have it?
They told me, the Premier's office told me they do not have a copy. And it's so strange because you don't put out a request for financing proposals, and normally it's attached to the same press release. But in this case, it was not. And I said, well, where can I get it? The Minister of Natural Resources, does he have it? No, he doesn't have it. You can go to Nalcor. I goes to Nalcor, speak and leaves the messages with the senior communication staff at Nalcor. And, of course, up to now today, I still don't have an answer, and nobody has a copy of the document.
You're like that fellow they turned out of Canada. He's become persona non grata. You are persona non grata with Nalcor by the sounds of it.
Well, I feel so bad about that, Bill, but I mean, the bottom line is the people of the province deserve to have some answers. And because I've said this before, the fact is right now that Nalcor has admitted in its latest annual report released last Friday that the market for electricity in the U.S. has collapsed. That last year we lost over $30 million on selling a couple hundred megawatts of recall power as a result of the market collapsing both on price and demand. I mean, there is no market for Muskrat Falls power.
If you become leader of the Liberal Party and Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, Danny Dumaresque, would you support the Muskrat Falls Lower Churchill hydro development?
Bill, I support the building of the generation of power at Muskrat Falls beyond any question. I would not interfere with the building of this generation capacity, and I believe it's going to be very useful for economic development of Labrador and indeed creating thousands of jobs in that part of the province. But what I do question and what I would do if I was in that position, there would not be a line going to Nova Scotia because that line is going to nowhere. And right now, we are signing on to give Nova Scotia free power for 35 years.
So you would develop the project, because, I mean, a lot of people are in favor of that for sure, in principle, a clean, renewable resource like that. But you would negotiate something with Quebec to wheel the power through their territory to the ultimate markets. Is that what you would do?
Well, I would look at two options. One is that option because we are able to wheel power through the province of Quebec. We already have the space rented and we can use that in the future. But the other option that I would look at is that if we are prepared, and we have already done this, signed on to say we're giving free power to Nova Scotia for 35 years, I would go out with an international request for proposals to see if we couldn't attract a multinational corporation in the world that would come in here and be able to set up shop on the basis of getting a fantastic deal on electricity, similar to what I see when I travel the upper north shore of Quebec in Baie-Comeau and Sept-Îles. In Sept-Îles, you got aluminum alouette there, which is creating 700-800 jobs with over $100,000 each. And it's because they've been attracted by the cheap power that hydro could put this out to the international community, because for my children and the futures that are coming behind them, I want to see them stay here. I want to create economic development here, not give the people of Nova Scotia free power so that they can turn down their coal mines and reduce their gas emissions. We are not going to get one plug nickel for 35 years on the power we're going to give to Nova Scotia. So why don't we do it and use it if it's available to create 1,000 jobs, high-paying jobs in this province?
Okay, it's a big issue, lots of information and opinions on it. Got to say goodbye now, Danny. We'll talk again later, no doubt, in the future.
Thanks for your time, Bill, and have a wonderful weekend.
And have good travels around the province.
Appreciate it,
All
sir.
the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.